Welcome to our 2008 Toyota Land Cruiser. Now, full disclosure, guys, I love this truck. Now, love is kind of the wrong word. What am I thinking of? Adore. I adore this truck. This is probably, if not definitely, my favorite vehicle in the TFL fleet right now. And we've owned some pretty cool stuff over the years. We've been very fortunate, but I just love this 2008 Land Cruiser. I love the build quality. It feels exceptionally well made. There are no squeaks and rattles. I love the off-road capability with the full-time four-wheel drive system and the crawl control. I like the V8 engine. It provides good power, good torque, and I like the driving experience overall. It just feels so solid on the road. Now here's the thing, if you want to see all of my thoughts on this truck, be sure to go over to tflcar.com where I have a full in-depth review of this 2008 Land Cruiser. And as much as I love this vehicle, there are a couple of things I wish were a little bit more modernized. For example, the styling. Yes, it's pretty good, but it's a little bit too curvy, a little bit dull if I'm being honest. And then there's the interior. I'm sure this was nice in 2008, but it certainly feels a little bit outdated now. And if I'm being totally honest, I like this vehicle's ride. I like the coil suspension, but I wish it had a height adjustable feature. I know I'm a child and it's probably not necessary, but I like when vehicles move up and down like that. And if this vehicle had all three of those things, it'd be pretty much perfect. Now here is the really, really cool thing. Given enough coin in your piggy bank, you can go out and buy a brand new vehicle with all of those features on my wish list. And here it is, the 2019 Lexus LX570. Now, full disclosure right off the bat, guys, when I was planning out this video, we initially had asked Toyota for a brand new Land Cruiser, but unfortunately, as these things go, it was needed elsewhere. So here's what we've got instead, a brand new Lexus. And in fact, I think this vehicle better illustrates just how flexible this basic architecture is between the Land Cruiser and the Lexus. Today in this video, we're gonna look at all the really cool things that make this Lexus LX such an amazing machine, and we're gonna see just what's similar and what's not between a new Lexus and an 11-year-old Toyota. Just so we're all on the same page, the reason we're even putting this 11-year-old Toyota up against a brand new, almost $90,000 Lexus is because underneath they ride on the same platform. It's known internally as the Toyota 200 series platform. Now, there are a couple telltale signs that tell you that they're riding on the same platform. Take the wheelbase, for example. Both of these vehicles have the same wheelbase at 112.2 inches. They both have body-on-frame construction with a solid rear axle and an independent front suspension. There may be a value discrepancy here of nearly $60,000, but underneath, the engines are pretty much the same. That's to say, a 5.7 liter V8, known internally as the 3UR FE, if you're into that sort of thing. In the Land Cruiser, it develops 381 horsepower, and in the Lexus, well, you get a 2 horsepower jump, 383. But there are many similarities under the hood. The engine cover, practically identical, as is the airbox, as is the brake fluid reservoir, as is even the filler placement for the windshield squirters. There are some little things that are basically identical as well. Take the placement of the fuel filler release and the hood latch. This is the new LX and it's still in the same location. Pretty old school. And check this out, there are more similarities at the back of these vehicles. Both have this really cool split tailgate, although in the Lexus, well, there it goes. It's electrically operated. Come on. Yeah, check that out. Love this feature. Here's the thing though, when the LX debuted in the 1990s in the 80 series configuration, the Lexus and the Toyota were practically identical. Yeah, there may have been some more wood grain trim in the Lexus and the Toyota, but parts were pretty much exactly the same. The design was the same. Starting in the later 100 series, they changed a little bit. They've started to become different. The Lexus got hydraulic suspension, the Land Cruiser didn't. The front ends were a little different. And then there was bigger changes in 2008 when this generation came out. But I gotta tell you, by 2019, When you get in and start driving the vehicles, you'd be hard pressed to tell that these vehicles are sisters at all. The differences in the LX and this 08 Land Cruiser are immense and incredible. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This new Lexus is longer than this 08 Land Cruiser, and not just a little longer, over 5 inches longer. And the design front and rear is completely transformed. Take a look at the headlight design on this new LX. It is absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, the 08 Land Cruiser has halogens that do their job, but they're a little bit dull. This is by no means boring. It's an incredible design, full LED with these really cool, almost sculpted inserts where the pods live, plus full LED turn signals down below. This new front end design, you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. I personally think it's a pretty neat and interesting design. We've got, of course, the classic Lexus grille, integrated headlight squirters down here. We'll show those in a sec. And you'll see that the fog lights are nicely integrated as well. They're nice, small, concise pods. Okay, stepping inside the LX, and I'm happy to report that there is nothing at all similar with that 08 Land Cruiser. Nothing, apart from maybe the fuel release, which we talked about a little bit earlier. It's a completely new design. Even the fundamental controls that make the vehicle turn, stop, and brake are different. The steering wheel is different. The shifter is different. Even the parking brake is different, but different in a great way. I love the interior of that 08 Land Cruiser, but it's feeling a little bit Prius-y from 2005, if I'm being honest. The infotainment is old, the overall design is basic, some of the materials are a little bit hard. Not in this new LX. Let's start with the door. Up here you'll find a door handle, and it's not some plastic chrome plated thing. It's brushed aluminum. It's stunning, feels really soft and nice to the hand. And then check out some of these mirror controls. You have, of course, your standard left and right mirror adjustments as well as power folding, but there's also a little button up here labeled auto. Now what auto does is automatically fold and unfold the mirrors when you lock or unlock the car. Now coming up here to the left of the steering column, you'll find some nice features as well. First is automatic high beams. Yes, it's not that uncommon, but it's nice to have an easy to access button to turn it on and off. Then you'll find a manual button for the headlight squirters. Once again, a nice feature to manually control. To the right of that's a blank switch where the heads-up display would go if it was optioned. And to the far right is a funny icon that looks like a man who's got extreme diarrhea. It's a bent over dude. I have no idea what this did until I pushed it, and it does something pretty dramatic. Let me show you. Okay, check this out. I went ahead and pushed the button with the picture of the bent over man on it. The bent over man is now on my dashboard. And if I go ahead and put the truck into park, seatbelt off, engine off, it'll beep twice, and look at that. Full on lowrider mode. That's right. Oh yes. That is the easy entry system. It lowers the hydraulic suspension, and it's still lowering. I didn't quite give it enough time, but check that out. Now the suspension on this truck is what Lexus calls active height control, AHC, but it's not your typical active height control. It doesn't use an air-filled bladder. Instead, the Lexus is all hydraulic. That's right, hydraulically adjusting suspension. These suspensions are known to work for hundreds of thousands of miles. They're super reliable, just like this whole truck is. Let me show you how it works. There's 3 positions, a low, a normal, and a high. They're only available at certain speeds, but let me show you the height difference. Okay, so here we are in low mode. Let me go ahead and stick it up into normal mode with a little toggle switch. All right, there's normal. So significantly higher, and let me stick it into high. Back end goes up first, you can feel it. And then the front end should engage. So this is gonna be for your off-road settings. And there it is, high mode. So I'll show you going down into low with a close-up on the front wheel. The interior on the LX is very premium, and I'm gonna sound like a total fanboy, but for some reason, the leather just feels softer on an LX than just about any other Lexus product. It is so supple. You just wanna spend hours and hours road tripping in this truck. Other things you'll notice right away is the sheer amount of wood. Now, I'm secretly an 80-year-old man, so I quite like all the wood. I can see why it wouldn't be to other people's tastes. There are different trim configurations available for the interior in terms of color and textures, but this dark wood is beautiful in my opinion, and it's across the dashboard and on the steering wheel, which is, by the way, nicely bolstered with paddle shifters and a very sleek modern design, especially compared to the 08 Land Cruiser. Coming into the center console here, you'll notice some really cool features. First of all, when the vehicle is off, you can't see what any of the controls do. They blend away into this sleek black abyss. It's a really cool looking design. However, when the vehicle is turned on, all of a sudden you can see what the different buttons do, and that is my next cool thing about this vehicle. They're buttons. The Q system on Cadillac used to do this as well, where it all used to blend away, except when the system was on, it was all haptic displays, but not in the Lexus LX570. Instead, you've got these really sleek rows of integrated buttons that seem to blend into one solid line. A really nice and functional design. Some interesting buttons within there. You'll notice something called the Climate Concierge. You're not going to find that in your 20-year-old Land Cruiser. No, the Climate Concierge in this Lexus really controls a bunch of different stuff depending on the outside ambient temperature and what you have the climate control set to. Engaging the Climate Concierge and adjusting the automatic climate control will turn on the heated steering wheel if need be, turn on the heated seats, and even adjust the ventilated seats if it's hot outside. The next thing you'll notice is the infotainment display, which is huge. It's not some small 8-inch display like in our 11-year-old Land Cruiser. It's a long horizontal display that's controlled not by touch, not by some funky little haptic touchpad, but by a mouse. This is an old school Lexus feature, but the mouse works brilliantly, much better than some of the new haptic Lexus systems. I love the mouse. I wish all Lexus products had them. And there you'll find your typical stuff, a relatively straightforward to use navigation system that's configurable so you can put it on part of the screen all the time. You also see an integrated climate system with some funky designs and some round bezels, and a fairly standard radio XM phone integration. Now, of course, being a 200 series underneath, the LX has to be good off-road, and the 2019 is no exception. First of all, full-time four-wheel drive, so there's no chance of you getting stuck in two-wheel drive when you don't want to be. Plus, there's a low range that's engaged by this super satisfying toggle. You push down and you pull it back, low range engaged, really quality feeling, but there's a lot more off-road fun than that. This vehicle, like our old Land Cruiser, actually has crawl control, but this time there's 4 settings. Crawl control maximizes traction when you're off-road, and it's less herky-jerky in this new one than the old one. Plus, you'll quickly find some other off-road essentials like a locking center diff to send power 50-50 front and back, and this funny little icon with a little U around it. That engages a system that allows the LX to turn tighter off-road than it normally would. Our old Land Cruiser actually doesn't have this feature, came on a little bit later, but essentially you push this button. If you're off-road in low range and you're trying to make a tight corner, it will break the inside wheel to sort of drag you around a corner tighter, which is a good thing in such a large vehicle. There's also a series of drive modes ranging from comfort all the way up to sport, and even an eco mode, which is a little bit optimistic given this vehicle's fuel economy. We're talking mid-teens at best here, guys. One thing that is helping though is an 8-speed automatic transmission versus the 6-speed in our old Land Cruiser. The same knob that allows you to control crawl control also allows you to change modes on the multi-terrain select from mud and sand, loose rock, mogul, rock and dirt, and rock mode. Now, coming into the back seats, well, it's a nice place to be as well. You're not exactly slumming it back here either. First of all, the seats move forward and backward using a simple button on the side. Very luxurious. You've got these shades that go up and down on the rear windows, and in the center console, you've got a whole range of controls from climate control to even heated and vented seats for both left and right rear seat passengers. The Lexus LX comes standard as a 2-row, 5-passenger SUV, whereas the new Land Cruiser comes standard with a 3-row configuration. You can see here with our old Land Cruiser that it has a very distinct 3rd-row design in that the seats fold up on the side of the vehicle like a jump seat. Another cool feature of the new LX is the gauges. Take a look. Full display, easy to read, and a lot of information that you need to know. Some other numbers to run past you. Even though the engines are the same, this is a 6-speed automatic transmission. The Lexus has an 8-speed. Also worth noting, the Land Cruiser here in 2008 was rated to tow 8,500. This new LX is rated to tow 7,000, so significantly less on the LX. Also worth noting, off-road, out of the box, Land Cruiser, even this old one, is probably going to be a little better just because of wheel and tire size. And much smaller wheel on the Land Cruiser. The LX is rolling on 21s. They look great, but they're not going to help you in the rocks. Plus, the approach and departure angle is just a little bit better in the old Land Cruiser than this fancy LX. Having said that, it's just amazing how different these vehicles are, both in comfort and design. Obviously, I love this Land Cruiser. It's a great truck. It's a basic truck. But if you're looking for something more fancy, and a lot more expensive admittedly, the new LX is certainly fun. Now next time, I'd love to really get that new Land Cruiser and put it up against this old Land Cruiser, see just how much that name has changed, but it's really cool how versatile this 200 series has been, and you can obviously see that the LX is a vast improvement over the old Land Cruiser. As always, I'm Tommy with the Fast Lane Car. Be sure to go back to tflcar.com for the latest and greatest in Land Cruiser LX reviews.